For working in a credit card company where you have this transactional data, this is a sample data which has 99 rows and 4 columns, and your manager asks you to give a summary basis on transaction amount, frequency summary. So you're gonna be mad. How can I create a summary using a continuous variable? How is that going to make a sense? Hold on, he has a solution, right? So he want you to use this particular logic and create a category, something like this, and then give the frequency summary on that. Now this makes pretty sense to you. So to solve this particular thing, you start writing the code something like this, the typical way, using if else condition and creating a variable. But your manager also gives you a condition that you cannot use or you cannot create any other variable in this existing data. Okay, so you're gonna be mad again. Okay, so he could be right that as of now this is the sample data, you see only 99 records, but in your real life, in your job, you might have a table with 9900 million records. You might have many other tables where you have to do same thing, right? So it's going to be repetitive task, it's going to be on huge amount of data. All right, so that might create problem using those typical ways. So that's where SAS provides you another procedure which is called PROC format. Using this, you can create this kind of categorization on in a matter of minute. You can create this without making any change in the existing data. At the same time, you can have many subsets of the data without making change in the existing data, and you can subset it basis on different categories. All right, you can store this format, and whenever you need, you can use that. Here in this particular video, for example, I'm going to use all these 4 data sets. I'm going to use this to show you the illustration. Now let's jump to the SAS window and try to understand this PROC format thing using practical examples. Here you have the SAS data, right? So like I showed you 4 data sets. First one is paints, movies, Titanic, and skills, right? So these are the 4 data sets which we have. For now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with creating a simple PROC format. Okay, so to create a PROC format, what you're gonna do is you're gonna say PROC format and run. So in between that, you're gonna provide the statement values, and you need to give a format name. Whatever format you are creating, you just need to give a name over here. So for that, I'm going to say trancat. So this is the format name which I am creating. Now here you need to put the value of your format. So I want to create the transaction amount starting from the lowest one and ending till 3000. I want to say it basic. Then starting from 3000 to 1 till 6000, I want to say it average. Then anything greater than 6000 or till the end, I want to say them all as prime. Now this is it, your format is created. You might have some complex situation where you want to create a format, but trust me, everything is going to be very simple, and you can utilize the same way to create all those formats. Just in case if you are not able to solve that, put that into the comment section, I'll solve it for you. Okay, now this format is created. All that you need to do is just select this particular thing and execute this. That is done. Now let's try to take a frequency basis on these formats. First, I will use the original data and try to create a frequency basis on the tran amount, which is a continuous variable, right? I'm just going to use that procfreq data equals to LA. So these are the 3 libraries which I have created, right? So you also need to create the libraries to have the permanent data stored, right? This particular library I have created to store the format, which I will be showing you in later on in this particular video. Okay, so the data which I want to use is Spain's, and then let's summarize it basis on tran amount. I will say tables tran amount, and then just run this. If you run this, what's gonna happen? You see here you have the frequency on each of the individual transaction amount. Is that going to make a sense? No, not at all. So what we're gonna do is I will just use the format statement, and the variable on which I want to apply the format, that's transaction amount. So you remember, you are taking the frequency on original variable, but on that variable you are just applying the format. What is the format that you want to apply is tran cat. This should be followed by a period. In SAS this is called period. You can just say dot or full stop, whatever you feel comfortable. Now you just select this and execute this. Now if you see, this makes sense, right? Here you have basic 1 transaction, average 74 transaction, and prime 24 transactions. This is making a pretty good sense. All right, so this is how you can create the formats in SAS. Other than this, next example which you're gonna see is print data on format. So here we just saw how we can take the frequency using the format. Now if you want to print the data, for example, let's print the original data, proc print data la.spans, and for sample I'm going to use just 10 observations, and then let's run this. Is everything fine over here? Let's see. Yeah, that's every fine. And here you see this is the data which you have, right? So what happened here, you just executed the frequency. Okay, here you just executed the frequency. Now here you say, it says average transaction 74. Now out of this, which one is average transaction, which one is basic transaction? How would you know, right? For that you might like to apply the format on entire data. All right, so what you can do is, for that you're gonna say format, and then you simply just, I can just copy paste this thing to make it quick. Okay, so here I just made it, right, and just execute this particular thing, and bingo, here you have this thing. Now you can clearly say this particular transaction belongs to average category, this one is this one is this, and so on. Now here you might see that the transaction amount is not showing, so you might get into a situation where you want to create a data set in which you want to have this categorization separate, right? So you can use if else, but here instead of using if else, you can simply use the format thing. Okay, so what you're going to do is data, you can create a testing data set and set la.spans, okay, and create the new variable. I will say new var. Okay, and then over here I'm simply going to say put tran amount. On that, the format which I want to apply is tran cat, and then just run this, and then just print this proc print data equals to work, and out of work I want to use testing data, and I will take just 10 observation for sample, and then just run this. Okay, oops, it executed, it selected all of these statements, so I'm just going to select this much of this statement only. Okay, now if you see, you have the transaction amount as well as the new var. So here what we did is, here we created a new data set, and in that, we using this format only, we created a new variable, and then we just saw that. It will be very easy for you if you have basic understanding of the SAS. It will be easy or simple for you to understand all these things. Now basis on this particular format, we want to subset the data. So we don't want to change our data, but we simply want to subset it. For example, if you see in this particular thing, here you have subset for each of the things. Right now in our new table, what we want to have is, we want to have only prime transactions, right? But we don't want this particular variable. So how are you going to filter that? You don't have that categorization in data. So for that, this makes your work simple. Prime, I'm going to create a new data set which is called prime, and set the original data set which is la.spans. Now in this case, you can use the testing data, just in case if you have not created this and you directly want to subset it, then in that case what you're going to do, la.spans, and then what you're going to do is, you simply write the where statement, where put, I can use directly this particular statement. Okay, copy and paste it over here to save the time. Okay, and then here I am going to say prime, just run this, and in the new table which you have here, you're gonna see all those transactions where the transaction amount is greater than or equals to 6001. So it would not have any transaction lesser than 6000 rupee. Okay, 6001 rupee. So it was just clear over here. Now we will move forward. What happens is, now we just created the format. Okay, now after creating this format, if you just close this particular SAS session and you open it again and you just have it once again, for example, what I'll do is, I'll just take this, these are the sample formats, I just want to keep them for reference. Okay, So what I'll do is I'll just put them over here and save this data, okay, and I will just close this SAS session. Here I just close this particular thing. Now the SAS is closed. If I open it again, right, and if I directly try to use the format, is that going to work? Here it is asking for user ID and password, so let me just put that user ID. Okay, just let me, I have it stored, so what I'll do is I'll try to use it from here. Let's see if this auto suggests. Okay, let's see. You can just skip this particular part to make it quick. Okay, it's taking a little time. So here now I'll just say no, the data is not, I don't want to do that. What I'll do is I'll simply assign these libraries, and after that if you try to execute this particular patch directly, is that going to work? What do you think? Let's run this. No, that didn't work because the format is not available, right? That was created in temporary memory. If you are using anything other than SAS on demand, like SAS is your base SAS, then possibly you can go in the work library and you can check over there. When you create the format, you would be able to see that, but here in our case it won't show over here. So that's where it is not available as of now. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, for that we need to store the format which we have created in a permanent library, right? So here I have created this particular thing and I'm going to store it in a library which is called my FMT, right? So you see here I have this particular library created. So if I just put it over here, right, here I just need to say library, here I just need to provide the library statement. Okay, library equals to this FMT library. Now if you execute this, so now this is stored, but still can you use this over here? Yeah, of course you can use this because we just executed it, right? But just in case here, okay, let me make it simple. Here I stored it. Now if you go over here, come back over here, try this particular thing, is it going to work? No, because we also need to retrieve that particular format. Okay, we just need to retrieve that particular format that is stored in this. Now we need to retrieve that. How can we retrieve that? So this storing is done. Check out all the stored formats. First we're going to check out what all are the formats that are stored. So we're going to say PROC format, and then library which you want to check out is my FMTs, and in that we want to search for, look for only FMT libraries. Okay, and then just run this. So in FMT library you have all these formats created. Sorry, this was previously created, so that's why you see all these formats available over here, right? So these all are the formats which were already created. What I'll do is I'll just delete all those formats which are already created. Okay, now I will just delete this for you. Here it is deleted. Okay, now if you see it, you don't see anything over here. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just again create this format and store that in FMT library. Now that is created. Now if you go back over here, and execute this, so what you see is just one format available over here. Now if you want to retrieve this format, how you can retrieve that? For that you're gonna say options FMT search, right? And you just need to put the library name which has this particular thing, my FMTs, formats, right? That's what I'm trying to say over here. Option search, and this thing you need to put in parenthesis. It cannot be open, right? Now if you run this particular thing, the formats are retrieved. Now let's try to retrieve all the formats. Here this is how you can retrieve the retrieve all the formats, right? Okay, I just reversed the things little bit. Okay, here I had to retrieve one specific format, but I had just one format created, so it hardly matters. Okay, so I'm just going to pause this thing over here. Now before that, I will create some more formats inside that. Okay, so those some more formats which I want to create is this. I'll just remove this particular thing, come at the top over here, and in that I want to put all these formats, all these extra formats, right? Now if you run this all right, so this is all executed. Now let's see what all are the formats available. We just learned how we can check all the available formats. So here, now if I execute this, here you're going to show you all the formats which are available in your library. So the format name is rating. How is that created? From starting from low till 2, the level is poor. 3 to 4 average. 5 is excellent. Similarly, it is over here. This is for rating, this is for tran category, right? And only 2 are showing over here. Okay, here is the third one. This is tran category, and this is for the Jane coding. Okay, now let's so these were the 3 formats which are available in this particular thing. If you run this, it will retrieve all the formats. Okay, now if you want to if you don't want to retrieve all the formats but the specific one, how you can do that? The same fundamental you're going to use, right? What you can do is put the library name which has the formats stored and choose a format name from here, simply this one. For example, we're gonna use tran category. Okay, and then just put it over here. Oops. Here, right? So this is going to retrieve you only one format which you have stored in this particular library, and then you can use that. Tran categorization is restored over here. Similarly, if you want to retrieve any other format, you can do that. Here, to retrieve all the formats, simply what you can do is you can just remove this particular name. You can just stop being specific to a particular format. Okay, now you can retrieve, this retrieves all the formats which you have. Remember, to do this, first of all you would have to assign the library, which I already had done in the very beginning, right? Which is done over here. And once that library is assigned, then you can simply do all these things, right? If you don't have library assigned, don't get confused that without assigning the library you will be able to retrieve it. That's not going to happen, right? So first of all, it is important that you have a library which has formats stored, and then you assign that library and then retrieve them using this statement. Okay, now let's try using this on another data sets. Okay, for example, proc print, let me say print the Titanic data. Okay, data is LA is nothing but Learnerea. Okay, and out of this I am trying to print Titanic, and out of this what I'm gonna do is I am going to use only 10 observation. Okay, just to showcase you. Now let's run this particular thing. This looks like this, right? Now I'm going to you see this sex variable. So possibly when you are working on machine learning and on model development, right? So it's possibly you would require the encoding of this particular thing in terms of 0 and 1. How can we do that? So you remember in the very beginning we created certain formats for this. Here we are saying male 1, female 0. So the same thing we can simply use over here. How can we do that? Simply just say format, the variable on which we want to apply is sex, and gen coding is the format name, and let's run this. Okay, let's see if this works. What do you think? Is it going to work? This just gave you some error. Why? Because here it says you are trying to use the numeric gen coding with a character variable sex. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna use $sign with this. Okay, let's see if this particular thing works. Did it work? Yeah, it just worked. You see this particular thing 101010. Previously we had it male female something like that. Now it just worked over here. Let's take another example. Proc print data equals to observations 10, and sorry, the data set name will be LA dot, let me just remove this, and LA dot movies, and then I'm just going to put this and run this particular thing. Okay, if I run this particular thing, here you have the dummy ratings. These are not the original rating, it's just dummy rating. Okay, now what you can do is you can simply use this particular thing, format, and dummy rating variable you need to use to apply the format on that particular part. So what we can do is simply use this dummy rating, and on this the format which we want to apply is rating. Okay, let's validate the name if the format name is correct. So here we created the rating format. Okay, so that is absolutely correct. What we can do is can simply go ahead and execute this. What do you think? Is it going to work? Let's see. Oh, it's just worked. So this is excellent. This is how you can use the formats. Now similarly, I give you another task. We had another data set which is called skills. I would strongly suggest you use this particular data set, use rating format on that for SQL skill sets, right? That has a column called SQL, and on that apply that rating format and try to see what the result comes in. Okay, so I hope I covered enough, and this gives you a very good level of comfort. Just in case if you have any doubt, put that into the comment section. I'll definitely get back to you and solve the problem. Until then, happy learning, all the very best.